Produced by Podcast Architects.
Hi, Channa Borman here with Straight Talk and Honest Advice, our podcast about a person's journey in making the decision to file for divorce, the process of divorce, and then how the person acclimates to single life afterwards. Thank you for joining us today. We're hosted today by the Stella Hotel, so thank you, Stella, for hosting us. And I'm here with my friend Joe. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Nice to meet you, Channa. Appreciate you having me here.
So I wanted to talk to you. You're divorced.
Yes.
I wanted to visit with you today about some of the fears or concerns you had when you were contemplating making the decision to divorce. Can you share with our viewers what some of those fears and concerns were?
Some of the fears, growing, being married, and then as you go through the marriage part, you never think about divorce, you're going to be forever,
Mhm.
But then in my situation, it's like anybody else's, you always think about that fear, what's going to happen there at the end, but my fears was just because in our family, being a close-knit family, there was never nobody ever divorced. And being divorced and being raised as a Catholic made it very difficult, the fear of being out, the outcast of the family,
Mm.
And then also as you go through the church, as well, the Catholic Church, you kind of feel like you're kind of, just the oddball out,
Mm-hmm.
But that was the most of the fear that I had, just being the one that first one in our family that's ever been divorced, and also not just divorced, but also my aunts and uncles. No, there's never been anybody, but that was the greatest fear.
So after you made the decision to divorce, did you find that you were ostracized or you were looked down on?
Yes, it seemed like I was looked down, and and you carry that with you everywhere you go,
Mm-hmm.
So you always feel like you're always looked down upon, the failure,
Mm-hmm.
as you could say, for not, completing the process of being, married and trying to work it out or whatever, but you are looked down upon.
So how did you come to grips with that perception that you were being looked down on?
Very difficult. Like I said, one thing the way I dealt with it was, I wish I would have had someone that I could talk to, and I never had anybody close enough to, to express my feelings and share with them, which I did have close friends, whatever, but I was always kind of just hesitant because I didn't want to, I figured I tell them, they go tell, other people. And
They tell somebody, then they tell
yes.
somebody, and then I'll soon.
So, and so I kept it to myself until recently, well, not recently, but through our church, there was a support group that was there, and just happened to look into it, and that was the greatest thing that's ever happened.
So in that divorce support group, what was it about that group that gave you comfort or helped you heal?
On that support group, it's a support group that helps, if you're going through separation or thinking about divorce, and it just, everybody that's in that group, is already about to go through it or already been divorced, and you can go there and express and open up to people who's already been through that process, and that makes it a whole lot easier, to come to then holding it inside than to express it to other people there.
What is it about expressing it that's helpful?
Oh, there's just what you go through pre-divorce, and then the post-divorce, it just kind of, it makes it very, how do you say, very easy,
Mhm.
because myself keeping it inside and not talking to anyone about it
Mhm.
just makes it more difficult, and then when, like I said again, like you had somebody in that group who's already been through it before, and they can express your feelings and
Mhm.
just lay it all on the table, and it gets that burden off your shoulders.
Did you get the sense that, well, they lived through it, so I can live through it too?
No,
Okay.
not so much.
Okay.
It just the ability to talk to someone about my problems, what I went through,
So just to purge it, to get
Yes.
it out.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Then
So
carrying it with you on your shoulders all the time.
So I see. So would you give that advice to other people who might be struggling with
Yes.
either the decision to divorce or going through the process?
Definitely.
Talk to someone.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Had you and your wife engaged any kind of therapy so that you could talk to someone before?
We went to a couple of sessions of therapy,
Mhm.
But I knew that going to that therapy process, our marriage was already over.
Mm-hmm.
But I followed the process. She wanted to give it a try, and I was open with it, and we went through it. And eventually, the therapist said it was best if we moved our own way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I would definitely recommend, counseling if there's a possibility. But in our case, it was already too far and beyond.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there any advice that you would today give to the man that you were during your marriage? Like, is there any retrospective advice you would give to that Joe?
Yes, I probably would.
What would that advice be?
I would probably change, when you're courting and then getting engaged, I would probably give that advice to live with someone first
Oh, okay.
and find out more about them. Then, in the old days, you didn't live together or have any kind of, intimacy or anything like that with that person, So
Mhm.
I would definitely advise, to move in together.
I always say, you got to try on the pants before you buy them.
Exactly.
So that's kind of the idea, right?
That's what I would tell myself now,
Try on the pants before you buy
Yeah,
'em.
exactly.
And in that vein, you know, when you get married, it comes with things that you didn't expect.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's perhaps people, that's perhaps relationship dynamics. That's, I guess, a lot of different things. Did you and your wife engage in any sort of premarital counseling to try to foresee those things?
We had, which the church offers classes,
Mhm.
and we went through the classes and we both, it seemed like it was positive,
So even after the classes, you went to classes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Son of a gun.
Yes.
Hmm.
We went to classes, and apparently, the issues that we had, if they would have came out then,
Mm-hmm.
we probably wouldn't have got married then,
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
the church did offer classes, and those classes, it never brought up that issue up.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Now, many times I hear people say that they're going to stay together for the kids. They're going to stick together. They're going to stay married until their kids maybe graduate from high school, something like that. Did that ever factor into your thought?
It very much so, a lot.
So in what way?
I knew that my marriage was already over, and I knew there was nothing to save it. But I knew my kids were still young, and I wanted to stay until they graduated, till they got out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was the best thing to do. But apparently, I would not recommend it, because you live with misery if you stay for the kids. And I would highly not recommend doing that. It's best to move on and, and work it together with the kids, but I would not recommend staying for the kids.
You don't think that's the best decision?
No. Mm-mm.
So many people make that decision. Have you found that? Are you still involved with that divorce support group?
Yes, I am still involved with them.
And do you see that theme, people staying together for the
Yes.
kids, happens a lot?
Yes, we have that our support group that our local church has, for separation, divorce, or and it helps a lot of people. And most of our people that come there say the same thing. They stayed too long, in which they would have just divorced prior than staying too long for the kids.
Too long for the
Mhm.
kids. Stayed too long.
Which it makes it's very live a miserable life. Staying for the kids.
Yeah. What example are you giving to them?
Right.
Yeah.
Not
Best
very
you
good
can
at-
hope for is be miserable.
Yes. Mhm.
Right. Did you go about during the process? And I don't want to get into the ins and outs of that process. Did you find that your relationship with your spouse was easier after you divorced, or harder?
Harder, very harder,
Mm-hmm.
very hard. Up until when she filed for divorce, and which I thought it was going to be a mutual relationship, with us and our kids, but after the final divorce, knowing that it was very difficult, very
Mhm.
difficult.
Do you now, knowing that it was difficult after you divorced, would you have made a different decision?
I would have made a totally different decision. Yes,
And what decision would you have made?
I would have had my own attorney.
Oh, you didn't have a lawyer.
Yes.
Okay. So let's take even if you'd had your own lawyer and it was difficult,
Mm-hmm.
would you have made the same decision? That is to say, even if your interaction with your ex-spouse was difficult, would you still have made the decision to divorce?
Yes.
Is that still the right
Yes,
choice?
the right choice. Yes, no doubt about it. With the choice.
What factors made you consider that it was the right choice?
I mean, up until the third year of marriage, and the struggles that we had and issues that we had, and then
Mhm.
about the following 2 more years, I knew that down the line, there was going to be a divorce, but at the time we had no children then. But then years later, we had children, and that's what made it me more tough.
Mm-hmm. 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 Do you think that parents should consider staying for their kids versus not?
No. You don't want to be miserable.
Mm-hmm.
You live a miserable life.
Mm-hmm.
I did it for a little while before, it actually was divorced, and you find yourself just in the same household but divided.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a pleasant feeling at all, or environment.
Do you think your kids knew?
To a certain extent, I think they did know, and they were just, they wouldn't say anything, but I'm pretty sure they caught on to something was not right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you could give, I guess today, looking forward to the future,
Mm-hmm.
what do you see as like the benefits of having divorced when you did?
The benefits?
Looking forward into the future, right? Like, are you in a better position or a better place now than you were then?
I don't think it depends on how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't say that I'm in a better position or a worse position.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was just a little bit better off than what I was before. A lot feeling that through being married in that bad relationship that I was in.
Mm-hmm.
But it depends on how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that I'm actually in a better position.
Are you in a better place emotionally?
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm.
And what do you attribute that emotional change?
To my faith. A big part of it, going through that part of it, which I was already, following my faith quite a bit, but ever since the divorce, that was the ironclad that held me together,
Mm-hmm.
With that, I probably wouldn't have probably been worse for me, but that was the main thing for me.
Mm-hmm. Finding someone to talk to and relying on your faith.
Yes, definitely. That helped me quite a bit, a lot.
Mm-hmm. Good advice. Sage words.
Yeah.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks
Thank
so
you
much
very
for
much.
coming in.
Thank you, Channa, for inviting me.
And thank you. Thank you for joining us here on Straight Talk and Honest Advice. We'll see you next time.
Produced by Podcast Architects.